More on that, only 6% of white hirings in the top S&P 100 companies. Hello, this is Chart GPT Today. You know, there was a report out on, and you can look at the description post link to get the details of it. It came from out of Bloomberg. And they did, and this is Bloomberg, it's not necessarily a right-wing thing or anything. Basically saying that in the year 21-22, they tracked that the S&P 100 companies only hired 6% of the white population compared to everyone else. So let's take a look at that report. Actually, there it's been going around the Twitter, but they only showed the top level, so we want to break it down a little further on that report. You can see here they have these nice graphics. If you go to the page, you can kind of see it. 94% of the people were basically people, what they call people of color, and they only hired 6% white. So some people are crying for racial discrimination. Of course, a lot of people were saying that, well, it was to address some of the racial inequalities in terms of hiring, so we'll take a look at that. Breaking it down even further, again, this is the Bloomberg report. You broke that 94% down, and you see 23% black, considering they're, 12-13% of the population. Hispanics, 40%. Again, I think they're around 15-16%. And Asians did the best, actually, because they're even lower. I think they're, 7-8%, and they got 22% of the hirings. So the Asians are the winners on this. Compared to the white. So let's break it down even further using some other data. They broke it down further. Who's being hired? It's probably true to say that in the lower, lesser senior roles, these numbers come out even more starker. And as you go up the food chain, the white folks do better. You get up there in the executive area, and they by far it gets a bit more probably in line with population. So that kind of gives you a breakout. You can make what you want of that. But it's mostly in the lower staff areas where most of the hiring of the non-whites have come about. So now we look at the actual civilian labor force on a trend basis by sex, and you can see over the years since in the 1960s, 70s, 80s in there, you can see that one of the biggest changes in the workforce is that the women have come up in terms of their participation. They're getting close to equal. There's a few percentage difference there. There are still a few women that are choosing to become homemakers, so that might make up some of that difference. But pretty much it's been even since, shall we say, the year 2000. So when you look at that 6% of white people, it's probably distributed fairly equally. But they didn't give a breakdown of that, or maybe it's not. Who knows? But when you look at the participation rates of all races, they're pretty much in line. There's not like white people are excessively overhired versus blacks or Asians, so they pretty much have the same labor participation rates. So the justification for this lopsided hiring obviously was purely political. So you break it down in terms of the male, let's just say we don't know this because we haven't seen the details. They didn't do the gender part of the study. But assuming that it just breaks out equivalently there, 3% male, so 3% white males and 3% white females were hired in the S&P 100 companies, even though they represent 30% of the male population, 30% of the female population. So that's a pretty big difference there. So what does this mean going forward? Well, obviously there's the cry of racial reverse discrimination. Is that true or false? Give us your online rationale for that in the poll. Take our online poll and see what you think and give us your opinion on that. And it's not just in the U.S. We've seen these attack on white males especially. So we see that in the UK, but it's kind of in the Western world. Again, take a look at those the AI and some of the criticisms as affirmative action. Is it time to end it? Again, take that online poll, and don't forget to subscribe.